The story of Isaiah, a prophet's journey. In the 8th century BCE, the kingdom of Judah was a small nation surrounded by powerful empires. The Assyrian Empire loomed large, its armies conquering lands and spreading fear. In this time of uncertainty and spiritual decay, God called a man named Isaiah, the son of Amoz, to serve as his prophet. The call of Isaiah was a resident of Jerusalem, likely from a noble family. He was a man of deep intellect, well-versed in the Torah, and aware of the moral and spiritual decline in Judah. Idolatry had infiltrated the land, the poor were oppressed, and the leaders were corrupt. Isaiah knew his nation was teetering on the brink of disaster. One day Isaiah went to the Temple of Solomon to pray. The temple was bustling with priests offering sacrifices and the smoke of incense rising to the heavens. But suddenly, the ordinary faded away, and Isaiah was swept into a divine vision. He found himself standing in the throne room of heaven. The throne of God was high and exalted, and its train filled the temple. Seraphim, fiery celestial beings, flew above, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 their feet, and with 2 they flew. They cried out in thunderous voices, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty! The whole earth is full of His glory." The temple shook at their voices, and smoke filled the space. Overwhelmed by the sight of God's majesty, Isaiah fell to his knees. "Woe is me," he cried. "I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell among a people of unclean lips. My eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty." One of the seraphim flew to Isaiah, carrying a glowing coal from the altar with tongs. The seraph touched Isaiah's lips with the coal and declared, "See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for." Then Isaiah heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" Without hesitation, Isaiah responded, "Here am I. Send me." The mission begins. Isaiah's commission was not an easy one. God told him to deliver a message of judgment and hope, a paradoxical task. "Go and tell this people, be ever hearing but never understanding, be ever seeing but never perceiving." Isaiah was to warn the people of their impending doom if they did not repent, but their hearts would remain hardened. Despite the discouraging mandate, Isaiah obeyed. He began to prophesy in the streets of Jerusalem, speaking against idolatry, greed, and injustice. He called the people to turn back to God, to care for the widow and orphan, and to walk in righteousness. But his words were met with scorn. The people mocked him, and the leaders dismissed him as a doomsayer. Prophecies of judgment. Isaiah's prophecies grew darker as the people refused to repent. He foresaw the destruction of Judah and Jerusalem. He warned of a time when foreign armies would lay siege to the city, its walls breached and its temple desecrated. Yet Isaiah also spoke of a remnant, a small group of faithful believers who would survive. He assured them that God's covenant with his people would not be broken. Even as judgment loomed, there was a promise of restoration. The vision of the Messiah. Amid his warnings of judgment, Isaiah began to speak of a mysterious figure, a Messiah. He described a child who would be born, a son who would reign with justice and righteousness. "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." Isaiah also foresaw the suffering of this Messiah. In a startling prophecy, he described a servant of the Lord who would be despised and rejected, a man of sorrows. This servant would bear the sins of many, offering himself as a sacrifice. He was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. Isaiah's prophecies pointed to a future hope, a time when God's kingdom would reign on earth and peace would be restored. Confrontation with King Ahaz. During Isaiah's ministry, the Assyrian Empire threatened Judah. King Ahaz, a weak and faithless ruler, considered forming an alliance with Assyria for protection. Isaiah confronted the king, urging him to trust in God instead of political alliances. Isaiah delivered a sign from God. "The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel." This prophecy, while addressing the immediate crisis, also hinted at the future Messiah who would embody God's presence among his people. Ahaz ignored Isaiah's counsel, choosing to rely on Assyria. The consequences were disastrous. Judah became a vassal state, losing its independence and paying heavy tribute. The triumph of faith, Hezekiah's reign. Later during the reign of King Hezekiah, Isaiah's faithfulness bore fruit. When the Assyrian king Sennacherib laid siege to Jerusalem, Hezekiah turned to Isaiah for guidance. The prophet assured the king that God would deliver the city. In a miraculous event, the angel of the Lord struck down 185,000 Assyrian soldiers, forcing Sennacherib to retreat. Isaiah's prophecy was fulfilled, and Jerusalem was saved, reaffirming God's sovereignty. Isaiah's legacy, Isaiah's ministry spanned decades, and his messages of judgment and hope left an indelible mark on Judah. Though many rejected his warnings, his words were preserved, becoming a cornerstone of Jewish and Christian theology. He is believed to have been martyred during the reign of King Manasseh, who opposed his prophecies. Tradition holds that Isaiah was sawn in two, a gruesome end for a prophet who had faithfully served God. Yet Isaiah's vision of a future Messiah and a restored creation continued to inspire generations. His writings are among the most quoted in the New Testament, pointing to Jesus Christ as the fulfillment of his prophecies. The eternal hope, Isaiah's story is one of faithfulness in the face of rejection, a reminder that God's plans transcend human understanding. His vision of the new heavens and new earth offers a glimpse of the ultimate hope. The wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the goat. They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. Isaiah's life teaches us that even in times of darkness, God's light shines, offering redemption in a future filled with his glory.